Hey, good day, everyone. I got a special nugget for you today. This one's a little different. I was asked by a beloved brother of mine who was going to be out of town. He said, "Could you record your sermon for me today?" And so I did that, and so we have the full thing today on deception. Actually, deceptions is Satan's oldest trick. It was his first trick, and it's still the trick he uses very successfully. We're pretty easy to deceive as fallen man, and as James tells us, we can deceive ourselves. So, brother, be of good cheer, and I hope this helps, and God bless you. Hey, John Luke. Where's John Luke? Do you know these people? What if I told you, that was pretty quick, wasn't it? What if I told you this is Uncle Bruce and this is your dad? Huh? True story. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't buy it, but he just agreed with me.
Same shirt you're wearing.
You know, it very well could be. And so, oh well, let's Drake, since you brought it up, look at that hair. So much hair, the hat wouldn't even go down on the head.
What did the hat even say?
That's part of the lesson. But I'm also concerned, where'd Jim go? Go home? I'm also concerned about, you may not be able to tell, but I got on a giant hunting glove here. Just how bad was that diaper, Cody? You got one a day or what was it? But I got on a big hunting glove. The hat, Drake pointed out, the hat I found. We were floating down Current River and we got out at Mr. Ruff's, and as we got out on the edge of the bank, the hat come floating by, and I picked it up. Luckily, there wasn't a head in it. I put it in the truck. It dried out. I wore it for a long, long time. It says, "Beauty is skin deep, but ugly is to the bone." That's foreshadowing of today's lesson, because beauty is skin deep, but ugly can be to the bone, because we can't see that part. We have to observe. So we're going to talk about being deceived today. Talk about deception in the Bible. And so I want to start out with this. Who has not seen the Weather Channel clip with Mike Seidel? Anybody has not seen it? Very good. Several. Great. All right, let me set the stage for you. If you ever watch the Weather Channel, you know Mike Seidel. I mean, he's been on there for years. One of the most respected anchors they have. Well, this is in Florence, and they're down there reporting the hurricane. And you see how them guys, you know, they're nuts. They get out in that hurricane and the wind is just 150 miles an hour, and they're reporting on live from the blah, 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 I'm stupid. So that's what's going on the surface. Let's watch and see. We're about half of it.
Okay, picking it up here in Wilmington, North Carolina, right at the Intracoastal, and we're in one of these bands. This is about as nasty as we had some bands like this last night. And then in the Ottawa this morning, we were not on TV. It was a dark and raucous night at the hotel. And this wind, gusting again over 60 miles an hour, is blowing by pieces of limbs. This is what we're seeing, a lot of shingles coming off. You see what happens when you throw it off, it just takes off like a projectile. And unfortunately, a tree has fallen on the home here in Wilmington, killing a mom and her infant. The father was transported to the hospital with injuries. So here in Wilmington, New Hanover County, this has become a deadly hurricane now with 2 fatalities, a mom and her infant. Boy, I tell you, look at the wind just whipping the palm trees.
Wind was blowing, huh? And you seen what happened. The guy's strolling in the background. At first, the cameraman thought, you could see he panned out to catch them. He thought, well, here's some more victims. And he panned out and they were strolling. And then he panned in. He tried to cut them out of the scene, but he couldn't. He couldn't cut them out and keep Seidel in the scene. Well, I mean, this were called out quickly, and the Weather Channel tried to defend it, which made them look even worse.
I mean, the excuse they come up with made it look even worse. And so, well, the air conditioner's kicked on over here, so I'm like, it's blowing in here. I'm going to try to bring the Word of God to you today, but my goodness, I mean, that's what he was doing. You were deceived. Is there a this is the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel. Is there a possibility, guys, that other news outlets are trying to deceive you when they put out stories? No, there's not a chance. They are. They are all buying for your time. And the more sensational they can make the story, the more severe the hurricane, the more people tune in. It's all about a personal greed and agenda. It's deception. Don't kid yourself. The Weather Channel is not the only person who deceives you when you turn on the TV. Shocker. All right? The problem is we are bad to fall for deceptions. That's the problem. It's a human nature thing. But the Bible's not silent on it. 80 times the Bible tells us about deception or deceive, warning us 80 times throughout. It talks a lot. But so not only can we hear and be deceived, our eyes are some of the most deceiving of all. That's why beauty's skin deep, but ugly's to the bone. You can't see to the bone. And so many times the first reaction here is, oh my gosh, a thug worse than Jim McGrew is trying to pick up this little girl. And that's what we think. We don't know that until we see the shadows that each cast. Jesus called that recognizing a tree by its fruit. We don't judge, but we have the responsibility to observe the fruit. And he said, good fruit will come from good trees. Bad fruit will come from bad trees. That's not judging, that's just observing fellow man. And so we can say, when we see the shadows that are cast as a result of actions, then we can see the fruit. But so easy to be deceived ahead of time for us. 1 Samuel 6 and 17, and I'm thankful for this. We mentioned it right at the end of class, Aunt Pat. The Lord said that people look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Now here's what Jeremiah said. He said, the heart is deceitful above all things, and it's desperately wicked. Who can know it? Have any of you ever been deceived? Let's talk about things that don't matter in the scheme of life. You ever ordered anything in the mail and it come in and it wasn't what you was expecting? You know, this happened to me. I was 10 or 11 years old. On TV was this record, selling this record, and it was all the popular hits of the time. And I was so excited. I mean, I could listen to all my favorites on one record, you know. And I talked Mom and Dad into ordering it for me, and I waited, and I come in the mail, and it was all my favorite songs, but it was like the McGrew Quartet singing them. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I don't know, some old boys they picked up down at the feed store singing them, you know. I was disappointed. I was disappointed. I was deceived is what I was. A couple Christmases ago, Jax got me this plaque for my wall in my office, and it was really neat. It had 3 or 4 sayings about Dad he put on it for me, and it was really cool. He got it in the mail, and it was this big. It was this big. Looks is deceiving. We're easily deceived. Just last year, Brenda ordered a ring. I don't know where from, come in the mail, and it looked like one of them suckers that you eat. It was so big, so big. And it was funny. She said, see my new ring? Shring. Wow, that's gorgeous. But we are easily deceived. And so the thing is, here's why. Jerry, this happens so much now that we're just numb to it. When I hear politicians talk, I automatically don't believe 99% of the stuff they say. I'm just numb to the deception. Here's why. An old boy moved from the city. We're going to call him Kenny. Kenny moved to the country, bought himself a donkey. Every country boy needs a donkey, John Luke. The next day, he give $100 for the donkey. The next day, the farmer delivered the donkey, and he said, Kenny, I'm sorry, but that donkey died overnight. He's dead, right there on a trailer. Kenny said, well, give me my money back. And he said, that's the rest of the story I'm sorry about. I've already spent it. Kenny said, hey, no big deal. Unload the dead donkey. I'll raffle him off. Farmer said, raffle off a dead donkey. He said, nobody will know. They're just buying chances on a donkey. All right, they drug the donkey off the trailer. About a month later, the farmer ran on to Kenny and he said, how'd the raffle go? And he said, oh, it went awesome. I sold 500 tickets at $2 a ticket. He said, I cleared $898. He said, wasn't people mad that they bought tickets on a dead donkey? He said, only the person that won. And he said, I give him his money back. Made it right. That is how we are as a nation, as a country. We are so deceived that it don't bother us anymore unless it affects us directly. Of the 499 people that bought raffles on a dead donkey didn't know any better. One. And that's the way we are. Unless it affects us directly, we just go with this deception. And it's the devil's favorite trick. I told you, I think in my text last night, this is his oldest and his most effective trick that's still in use today. Let me tell you how it works. Back in Genesis, when he deceived Eve, you know why Satan used a talking snake, talking serpent? The preachers wasn't around yet, okay? He said, first step one, you distort the truth just a little bit. Satan said, did God really say you can't eat of any of these trees in the garden? Not what he said. Satan knew that. Eve's like, oh no, we can eat of any of them except that one in the middle. He said, don't eat of it, don't even touch it, or you'll die. Now we come with we've had the emphasis changed. Now we come with the deception. Oh, you surely won't die, Satan said. And you know, that was the closest thing to the truth that he told her. She wouldn't die, but it would be a fate worse than death. Death in paradise would still be paradise. She wouldn't die, but it'd be a fate worse than death. He said, surely you won't die. He said, I'll tell you what it is. He said, God knows that if you eat of that tree, and the fruit on that tree in the middle, that your eyes will be opened and you will know all things. You'll be like Him. What did he do? He just dropped in seeds of doubt in her mind. And all of a sudden, he had changed God from a giving God, a loving God, to a taking God. All of a sudden, it wasn't God has given us all of this. It was, you know what? I reckon why God ain't let us eat of that one tree there in the middle. I deserve to eat of that tree. I want to be. God is not having my best interest in mind. He's holding out on me. He's not doing right by me. Guys, it's the same thing that happens today. When something bad happens in our life, some people are quick to say, where is God? Where's a holy God? Where's this God that's for me? All of a sudden, it's not what He's done and give His Son for our salvation that we may have eternal life. It's God's a taker. He's not a giver. It's that deception that the devil is still whispering in our ears. It's a strategy that he uses, and it's very, very effective. Look what James said about it. He said, brothers, don't be deceived. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. So he says every good gift comes from God. If it looks good, but it don't come from God, if it looks good, but it can't be squared with the Word and His will, then it just looks good. The end is going to be death. So if every good and perfect gift comes from the Father, where does the imperfect, where does the bad gifts come from? Come from Satan. The same place they've always come from. The God of this world, small g. That's where they come from. Why does bad things happen to good people? Why is there innocent kids starving to death? Satan. Evil is in the world, folks. It's a real deal. Satan. It's not God. God is for us. So James says, so don't be deceived. Do not be deceived for those whispering in your ear. And then he goes on to say, like 5 verses later, he said, and this is a scary one, don't deceive yourself. Oh, great. I can deceive myself. I mean, not only now have I got to guard against others deceiving me, now I can deceive myself. James says absolutely. He said, if you just listen to the Word and so deceive yourselves, don't merely listen to it, do what it says, he said. Do what it says. If you're not acting on it, he said, you're just listening and you are deceiving yourself. You think, well, I know some things. I've read some things. I've studied some things. James says that's deception. That's from Satan. That's his oldest trick. That's his oldest trick. Deception. 3 verses later, he'd say this, but whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they've heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do. Now, hang on. Listen close. Again, to the instructions James gives. He said, here's the deal. He said, whoever looks intently and continues to do it, keeps doing it, and then doesn't forget it, but remembers it, puts it in his memory, like we put things in our memory that are important to us. Yeah, if it's important to us, we find a way. If it's not, we find an excuse. Keep looking, commit it to your memory so you can bring it up when you need to, and then do it. And then do it. Then they'll be blessed. This is not a new thought. This is not a new thought. This is not a new command. This has always been the case. When Moses passed away and Joshua took over, this is the first thing that the Lord told Joshua there in the 1st chapter, verse 8. He said, keep this book always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. What did he say? Meditate on it day and night so that you may be able to know everything. No, that's not what he said. He didn't say so you may be able to know everything, so you may be able to do everything written in it. I'm going to tell you guys and give you an illustration that you're not going to soon forget when it comes to studying the Word. And as James said, not just study it, but you keep on and you not forget it, and then you do what it says. If you know what it says, then you're ready and able to do what it says. A cow chews what? A what? I don't want you guys to miss this. We ain't playing today, guys. I'll even turn it down a little bit. What is cud? John Luke, when a cow eats, he just chews just enough so he can swallow it. And then later, he barfs it up and chews it up a lot better. Did you know that? And when he does that, it's called chewing the cud. Do you know how much cows chew the cud? Up to 8 hours a day. Up to 8 hours a day, they're going over something they've already been through. They're like, that was love your neighbor as yourself. Right? This is the way you've got to think about it, because if we just read the Bible, we just study it once, it just goes in and out the other. Take an example from the cow. The cow spends 8 hours a day meditating, working, enjoying, savoring, recalling from memory that which he had eaten earlier. Is that gross? Are you going to puke, Sandy, or how close are you puking?
No, but if I could see it, seriously.
Is this thing on a loop or something?
Yes.
Darn it! Who did that? Huh. So he's already eat, and now he's eating again. That is the way that we have to approach this. When God told Joshua, meditate on it day and night, He said, read what you read in the morning, spend that night chewing the cud, thinking about what you had read and how you can apply that to your life and put it into practice. That's the way we study the Bible. And if we study the Bible that way, then we are more prepared when things come our way that's going to come our way. Then we can regurgitate what we have already known and apply it. Sandy would be like, You guys get it?
No, one more time.
Drake's slow. He says run it one more time. I guess we could add some sound to it.
Yeah, louder.
That sounds like Bermuda. Bermuda. That's a Bermuda hay mix there, Todd. Charlene, how you doing? You all right? All right, good. Oh, he's delicious, isn't he? That's the way. That's the way we study the Bible. And then when we do that, then we're ready to put it into practice. Then we're ready to do what it says. We're not ready to do what it says if we don't know what it says because we have just glanced over what it said. This is the best way to be on guard against deception. And again, it's one of the devil's favorite tools. So whether the deception is some guy on TV trying to deceive you for personal gain, or whether it's the devil whispering in your ear, just trying to keep you from being separated from God, which is what he's trying to do when he whispers in your ear, don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. The best defense against deception is just what we've talked about, the example from the cow. Read it, think about it, read it again, study it. I mentioned this in class. Never in the history of the world has there been a time where we've had this much access to the Word of God. Never, never in history has there been anything close to what we have right now. And some say, well, I can't read. I'm not a good reader. That's a legit deal. That's true. This phone in my pocket will read every word of it to me with the push of a button. If it's something we want, we'll find a way. If it's something we don't, we'll find an excuse. Stop with excuses. If you're here this morning and you've been heavy on excuses, man, there is none. They're all. You live in a blessed time where the Word is the living and active Word, like it's always been, is available to not just read, but to read and study and understand. So don't be deceived. Whether it's Mike Seidel or whether it's the devil whispering in your ear, God's not good. He's not really for you, or that bad thing wouldn't have happened. Know what it is when you hear that whisper. It's the deceit of Satan. It's not God. God is for us. And if He's for us, then ultimately nobody can be against us. If we can help anybody this morning, please come now as we stand and sing.